we're dealing with 79 degrees Fahrenheit, 209,718 miles on the odometer. It's March 14th, 2024. Bought some new Apple Music. Secretly, I am a Metallica fan. I guess my first Metallica album was And Justice for All, which I did include in my screenplay Deep on Ellum. And Deep on Ellum, I actually called it Justice for All. It's actually And Justice for All. But the song that I wanted to use was Blackened because I was actually at a party when I was younger. It was my first, I guess you could say my first high school party. I was a skateboarder. I had like long bowl hair. Kind of looked like Tony Hawk's hair. And I had some friends that were also skaters. They heard about this party, but there turned out to be a bunch of skinheads at the party. And these skinheads, some of them would actually turn into club kids. They were like preppy. They became preps later on. Like you wouldn't know they were skinhead in a million years. But at the time, they had shaved head, flight jackets. One of the characters is mentioned in Deep on Ellum, which is a screenplay, a narrative, fictional screenplay, loosely based on my life living in North Richland Hills and Haltom, which is a personal piece. But I went to this party, and, you know, we were all just kind of hanging out. And I think they had like a record player in the living room, and these cords extended to these huge stereo speakers that they set up in the backyard that were very loud. And all of a sudden, Blackened starts to come on, which I've never really, at that point in my life, you know, being a skateboarder, I didn't listen to a lot of, like, Metallica, I would say, till maybe within that year sometime, you know, and then I got the tape for And Justice for All when I was probably still a skateboarder. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so Mosh Pit developed around, I guess it was like it could have been a backyard fire. In my mind, it might have been, but I doubt there was a backyard fire because the fire department and police would have been called. So it was probably just like a pit around something. Probably around a group of chairs. Kids were sitting in a lot of lawn chairs, and there were no parents. And I remember there was this punk lady that wore these like white and black strapped leggings. And before we got into the pit, before Blackened came on, she had came over and sat on my lap. Which I guess made some of the other skinheads kind of mad or something. She put her arm around me and was flirting with me. She probably had a cigarette going out of her mouth. This was like a time when I was experimenting with marble lights, you know. And I was a frail teenager, probably 145 pounds, roughly maybe about 6 foot. And then Blackened comes up. Everyone starts mosh pitting. And this young, kind of, I guess you could call him kind of a young, even more frail, pretty boy skinhead, you could call him, walked up to me. The other skinheads were there. The biggest one, who was pretty muscular for 9th grade, this is all happening in 9th grade, was named Matt. I won't say the last name, but he was the one to watch out for because he could like knock you down or knock you out. Pretty buff guy, kind of a Mark Wahlberg kind of type for a young age. And I was like, maybe everybody's about 15 or so. Some were 16, some maybe 17. And the young one, his name was Aaron, believe it or not, ironically enough, he asked me to fake fight him, is what he said. What I found out later on is that's how they jump people in to their little gang. So you'd start with a fake fight, and then everyone would just start beating up the guy that they had selected for the fake fight. But I said, nah, it's okay. I don't really need to do that because I kind of could sense it. You know, you could sense the violence. So they basically were about to jump me. And they just chose me out of the pit, out of nowhere. But I think I had to do with that girl sitting on my lap, or that young teenage lady sitting on my lap. Later on, a year later, I would go to Richland High School. At the time, I was at North Richland High School, which is actually goes from 6th, 7th, well, I think it's 6th, 7th, 8th, and then 9th being like a senior kind of thing where they're at the top of the chain of that intermediate school, or whatever you want to call it, middle school, whatever, junior high, I guess is what you would call it. And then Richland Hills, which was just Richland Hills. At the time, their mascot was a rebel flag. And you didn't start Richland Hills until sophomore, until 10th grade. There was 10th, 11th, and 12th, and that was it. So not a real big school body, but pretty big. Well, the lead skinhead guy that I was talking about, he would later slowly change into like this preppy kind of normal looking average guy with the same mindset of, you know, a neo-Nazi skinhead kind of thing, and would want to hang out and all this stuff. Well, that's what the screenplay is loosely based on, because there were punks at the time that were actually against the skinheads, and those were known as Sharp, which were skinheads against racial prejudice. It was a real group. And we didn't see a lot of them, but there was another group in Dallas known as the Ska Boys, and they didn't like Nazi skinheads, and so they would end up getting in a big fight in front of the place called I call it I have a weird name for things. I kind of rename things, but it was a club known as the Start Club. I think they call it the Start Club. I call it the Starch Club, because everyone wore starch, like on their lapels and everything. They were like starch. So that fight broke out, and police ended up calling because a lady was hit in the face with an axe handle by one of the skull skinheads. Don't know the outcomes of everybody. I ended up leaving Richland High School. I was asked to leave by the principal because I was out of zip code. I was living in Haltom at the time with my mom. I did start attending there with my grandma previous years because she lived in Richland. She lived like right down the road from the high school, so I ended up leaving there. And that's kind of about what the screenplay is about. It's about the experience of going through high school. Now, this is, of course, before most of the real violent stuff would happen with like a suicide. There was a suicide that happened at another school that Pearl Jam ended up writing. Jeremy, the song Jeremy was based on that. That was a big deal. We all heard about that. All schools heard about that. And then later on, afterwards in college, when I lived down this way, is when we heard about the horrible Columbine and then the Oklahoma bombings and all the violence that has gone on within our country since, I would say, maybe early or mid-90s. It has just gotten incredibly violent, leading all the way to the Mandalay, Las Vegas thing, where 216 people were injured, and just like a lot of people were massacred by a 64-year-old, nearly geriatric gambler and alcoholic that chose to, just get flip out. They're from Kansas right there. But anyway, the reason why I'm studying all this and talking about this is because I'm actually writing kind of a narrative film that's loosely based on Blue Velvet and The Following, and just kind of like my own version of what I'm going to be doing. Probably about a year from now, I'm going to see if I can get the right equipment. Get a MacBook Pro, because they have like advanced editing. Probably get some good lighting equipment, and then get on backstage and try to find some good actors that will commit for very low pay. And it's not a lot of actors. A lot of times it's just like day players, But I'm playing one of the lead roles, and then we'll have to see where we go from there. I did write some of the script last night, so I did have some creative spark happen and was able to write a few pages of it last night. But what I'm going to be very weary of doing this time around in my studies and things that I'm doing is I'm going to be very weary on each scene I write that it can be doable, meaning that it can be economically doable in a budget, so I don't have to like really stretch a whole lot and be like, well, we got to rent this kind of costume, or we got to rent this. I'm going to keep everything where it's very, very simple to do. And I'm going to maybe like a 40-minute feature, and that will be released probably in a year and a half, maybe a couple of years from now. You'll see that on this channel. All right? All right, 4:38, 4 minutes, 1.1 mile. So my legs were pretty sore from yesterday's hike. So tomorrow I'm gonna see if I can get in maybe 20 15, 20-minute hike. See if I can go further than that. Probably gonna bring down the time. Since I went an hour and 7, it's harder to keep to that pace. So you probably won't want to like just do like 20 or 30 minutes starting off. Do that for a couple of weeks until you get really good at that, and then move on to 45 minutes to an hour a day. And then eventually I'll be doing the whole 6 miles daily, hopefully jogging at least half of it. They're from California right there. They're also from Colorado. Told the guy in the elevator, it's like, good thing. Told the guy in the elevator, it's like, good thing it's regulated by TDLR. Told the guy in the elevator, it's like, good thing that's regulated by TDLR. He's like, yeah, we'd be screwed if it wasn't. Like an elevator held up by ropes. Look at these birds hanging out on these tires on this truck. They're all the way from Florida. All right, next delivery 741, 1 minute, 0.3. All right, got to get on that. And yeah, I've been thinking about my movie, making my movie in about, I don't know, about a year or so. Having the character talk like this a little bit. You can't really tell if, you know, if he's putting on his own accent or if it's like a real accent. You don't really know. He's got kind of an artistic past. He's also, he doesn't really see himself as a head thief. He's just refurbishing smartphones that have been lost in the market for various reasons. Basically, he buys smartphones off unknown individuals that have chosen to turn it into him for a small price. He can get information and photos. It's got also a little bit of that 2-hour photo or 1-hour photo with Robin Williams. Got a little bit, some of that in there. Not a whole lot, but a little bit, kind of, because, you know, he kind of like spies on people's lives when he opens their smartphones eventually. Then he hires this mute epileptic that speaks in tongues to break some of the codes on the phone. She kind of goes into kind of like a trance and knows the codes or something. He meets her on Craigslist. It's kind of one of them movies, a little bit of like maybe eccentric neo-noir with a bit of a comedy maybe. And then someone betrays him somewhere down the line. He uses his kitty cat's claws to kind of throw at him, so the cat, you know, can't trace where the scratches came from, or something like that. I might cut that, I don't know for sure. Just thought I'd use my cat in there somehow. You know, he's an evil villain with a kitty cat, you know, petting the cat, kind of that kind of thing, you know, that kind of stuff. 82941.4. Well, there's a backside of the Modern Art Museum in Fort Worth, and the Kimball Art Museum is doing Look Again, and Modern's doing Surrealism. There's the crescent. The official title on that is Surrealism in Us. Yeah, it's going on at the Modern Art Museum. Looks like a good one. There's the piano pavilion right there, created by an Italian architect. The other one, the Kimball. Oh man, I don't know where that guy was from. He's from somewhere, a weird name or something. And then the guy that created the Modern Art Museum was Japanese, but the Kimball one, Louis Kahn or something like that. And he's from shoot, I don't even remember. He's got the what's it called? Pritzker Prize. Pritzker Prize is a prize for architecture design. So does the Japanese, and so does the Piano Pavilion. All right, and you go ahead and drop off that food for friends. You hearing that noise? That's because that's made out of bricks right there. It's Camp Bowie, Larla Road, made out of bricks. Now not all of it turns into regular tar or whatever you want to call it, but this side of it right here is made out of bricks. And by the way, that's not the real way I talk, but I talk that way right now for the show, just for fun. Figured it'd probably be the one with the light on. I mean, logically speaking. It looks like it's going to be further down with the light on this one. I don't see any addresses right there. That's not right either. I guess I forgot to turn the light on. Maybe I'll make a phone call. Yeah, I went ahead and made a phone call, and he said he just left the porch light off. It's kind of hard to see the addresses when they do that. Hey, this looks like a nice little gift for people giving out right here. You never know if they're moving or not, but ideally those are real nice shelves. You go to Chester Drawers, but there's no Chester Drawers. But I guess if you just moved into a place, having those, you could at least store them in there till you get the Chester Drawers. You can build around it, one of the two. Let's see here. That's nice one right there. Got palm trees and everything, just like out in Beverly Hills. About, I don't know, $300 million difference. Well, if you got a lot of assets and a house that's $300 million or more, you probably, you know, better be dang good at what you do, because those assets will go real quick if they lose a little bit of interest in you. Up here, that's why if I ever make it, I'm going to get one of the cheapest places around, store all my money in blue barrels in the desert. Right down this way is what they call Dickey's Arena. That's where they had the rodeo not very long ago. And then on the other side, Will Rogers was where John... I must have woke up the dog. Sorry about that. On the other side, where Will Rogers were down that way, is where John Cusack came with 16 Candles and did the tour. He also went to Dallas with, I think it was Grosse Point Blank. Or Say Anything, one of the two. Here we go. It's a big old arena. Nice place for a concert. People come down here and play country and western music, maybe Taylor Swift or something like that. Or the other guy, a lot of country people like that Post Malone guy. Their fans are about the same. All right, turn in this way, right here, and gonna head on back. All right, well, another night of delivery. We're gonna go back and see Linda and Kitty. Chevrolet Cobalt ends in 6179, coming out of El Paso, Texas. Amber alert. Means they're under 18. Oh, really? There's Kitty. There's Linda. Now we're getting set up for the next scene. And please subscribe, show welcome, please subscribe. I don't really talk this way, just do it sometimes. Here's Kitty. Let me get Kitty set up for the shot. Get the lighting. There we go. And we gotta find Kitty's bowl. Where's your bowl, Kitty? There we go. There's Kitty's bowl right there. All right. Today's feedings are going to be brought to you by Sheba Tuna. It's sustainable tuna right there. Sustainable white tuna. Or what does it say? Oh, with sustainable tuna. I always think with is white, but it's with sustainable tuna. It's kind of a brown color. There it is, a little brown, juicy color. Get that tuna, Kitty. There you go. There you go, Kitty. Y'all please subscribe. You have a good night. You can watch them eat for a little while. you know, like be careful with drinks and things like that. Don't dump it down the sink or whatever. But I don't think they should have drinks sitting there losing the carbonation and selling it to people.
Correct.
You know, it doesn't sound like that's a very like health code thing to do.
Right.
So they're just having drinks just sit there.
I know. I was looking underneath the
you should dump them out because particles and stuff can fall into those drinks.
I know,
Did they have lids on them?
No, I had the little twisty things. I was actually looking underneath that tonight.
Did they have lids on them?
You know, lids on what?
On the drinks?
Yes, plastic lids.
Okay.
But did you not put any?
But did they have ice in them?
Yes.
That ice will melt and make it taste flat.
Shit's flat.